It's a mystery that has stumped the U.S. government for over half a decade now. Hundreds of American diplomats, spies, and other personnel around the world have been struck by a strange, debilitating illness. It started in 2016 in Havana, Cuba. Embassy staff and CIA officers experienced piercing sounds, crushing headaches, and a slew of neurological symptoms. Brain scans showed injuries similar to being hit by a blast wave, but there was no explosion. This was something altogether new and terrifying. In the years since, reports of these anomalous health incidents have spread across the globe. From China to Europe to the streets of Washington, D.C., officials have been left with more questions than answers. Is it some kind of secret weapon? A foreign power attacking our people, or something even stranger? The victims, meanwhile, have had their lives turned upside down, suffering chronic ailments that have cut short careers and left families reeling. They faced a disbelieving bureaucracy and a public quick to write it off as mass hysteria. But for them, the effects are all too real. Now, bombshell new evidence has emerged that could blow the mystery wide open. A trail potentially leading straight to one of America's most dangerous adversaries and a shadow war of covert strikes on our nation's eyes and ears around the world. Join me as we dive deep into the true story of Havana Syndrome, the baffling outbreak that has the U.S. government scrambling for answers, and the hidden clues that might finally unravel an international enigma years in the making. The puzzle pieces are starting to fall into place, and the picture they reveal could change everything. In 2016, American diplomats and intelligence officers in Havana, Cuba, began experiencing unexplained health incidents. These incidents were as baffling as they were alarming. Some of the first to be affected were individuals stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Havana. They began to report unusual symptoms that couldn't be easily explained by known medical conditions or environmental factors. Imagine, if you will, being in a foreign land, serving your country, when suddenly you're hit with a wave of debilitating symptoms. Migraines, so intense they can leave you incapacitated. Vertigo, a spinning sensation that can make it feel as if the room is turning around you. Hearing loss, an inexplicable decline in your ability to perceive sounds. And neurological problems, a broad term for a range of issues that can affect your brain and nervous system. The initial reactions from the U.S. authorities were of concern, but also confusion. What could be causing these symptoms? Were they the result of some kind of attack, or was there a more mundane explanation? The U.S. government quickly launched an investigation to get to the bottom of this strange phenomenon, but the answers were far from clear. The medical teams examined the affected individuals and ran a battery of tests, but the results only deepened the mystery. There were no obvious signs of physical trauma or exposure to toxic substances. The symptoms seemed to come out of nowhere, and they didn't fit any known pattern of disease or injury. As the number of affected individuals grew, so did the urgency of the investigation. Yet, despite the best efforts of the U.S. authorities, the cause of these health incidents remained elusive. It was as if an invisible enemy was striking at the heart of the American diplomatic corps, leaving its victims in a state of physical and mental distress. These incidents, later coined as the Havana Syndrome, marked the beginning of a perplexing and alarming series of attacks that would eventually spread across the globe. The mysterious onset of these symptoms, their unexplained nature, and the inability to determine their cause marked the start of a global health mystery that continues to puzzle scientists, medical professionals, and intelligence agencies to this day. The Havana Syndrome did not restrict itself to Cuba. It began to manifest in different parts of the world. As the strange occurrences unfolded, the syndrome started to make its presence felt far beyond the confines of Havana. From the Caribbean island, it journeyed across continents, making its mark in places as diverse as India and Austria. In India, a member of the CIA chief's team reported symptoms during an official trip, sparking concerns within the U.S. government. The incident echoed a similar occurrence during Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to Vietnam. Meanwhile, Vienna, the Austrian capital, became a new hotspot for these mysterious health incidents. Since President Biden took office, 24 U.S. officials in Vienna reported symptoms akin to the Havana Syndrome, marking a noticeable increase in the frequency of these incidents. What made Vienna a point of interest was its historical significance as a hub for espionage due to its neutrality and diplomatic presence. This added a layer of complexity to an already perplexing situation. But it wasn't just the diplomats who were affected. Intelligence officers and even a doctor researching the syndrome developed symptoms of the illness. The syndrome seemed to be choosing its victims indiscriminately, leaving a trail of concern and unease. As the syndrome spread far and wide, it also spread fear and confusion. Each new incident, each new location added to the growing mystery and heightened the urgency to understand what was happening. With the syndrome reaching other parts of the globe, the situation became more complex, and the urgency to find answers intensified. The question was no longer just about what was causing these symptoms, but also about how it was spreading and who or what was behind these mysterious attacks. The Havana Syndrome is not just a mysterious phenomenon, it's a debilitating experience for those affected. Imagine waking up with an intense migraine, struggling with vertigo, and experiencing a sudden hearing loss. These are just some of the symptoms reported by victims of the Havana Syndrome. One such victim is Dr. Paul Andrews, a CIA doctor who initially investigated this perplexing condition. Andrews himself experienced symptoms like ear pain, nausea, headaches, and balance issues, leading to damage in his vestibular structures. These symptoms are not just physical, but they also take a significant psychological toll on the victims. They can include brain fog, insomnia, and even long-term effects that are still being studied. The uncertainty surrounding the cause and nature of these attacks only adds to the anxiety and fear experienced by those affected. For the U.S. authorities, the Havana Syndrome has presented a unique and complex challenge. With over 300 individuals impacted, the pressure to find answers and solutions has increased. The syndrome has disrupted diplomatic missions and sparked concerns within the U.S. government, causing unease among U.S. diplomats and intelligence officials. Moreover, the Havana Syndrome has had significant consequences at the systemic level. It has strained diplomatic relations, made it more challenging to ensure the safety of U.S. officials abroad, and fueled speculation about who could be behind these attacks. The incidents persist despite intensified efforts to support affected personnel and enhance investigative processes. The human cost of these attacks, therefore, goes beyond the individual victims. It affects the functioning of the U.S. government, the safety of its personnel, and its relationships with other countries. With each new case, the urgency to understand and defend against Havana Syndrome grows. The human cost of these attacks is significant, adding to the urgency and pressure to find answers and solutions. The search for answers has been ongoing, with several theories being proposed. The mysterious Havana Syndrome, with its unexplained and debilitating symptoms, has left investigators and scientists scratching their heads. Theories abound, from sonic attacks to viral infections, but two particular hypotheses have gained traction: microwaves and pulsed electromagnetic energy. In the realm of science fiction, microwaves are often associated with heating up your leftovers, not causing brain injuries. However, some experts believe that a form of microwave radiation could be the culprit. This theory suggests that microwave pulses could disrupt the brain's normal functions, leading to the array of symptoms associated with the Havana Syndrome. Another theory proposes that pulsed electromagnetic energy might be responsible. This form of energy can interfere with electronic devices and, potentially, the human nervous system. It's a theory that, if proven, could revolutionize our understanding of the human body and its interaction with the environment. The Central Intelligence Agency and other intelligence communities worldwide have been tirelessly investigating these theories. They're diving deep into the science, sifting through mountains of data and conducting extensive field studies. In one noteworthy case, a CIA doctor, known as Dr. Paul Andrews, developed symptoms of the syndrome while investigating the incidents in Cuba, adding another layer of complexity to the puzzle. However, despite these investigations and the seriousness with which they're being conducted, skepticism abounds. Not all experts are convinced that microwaves or electromagnetic energy are the causes. Some point to the lack of physical evidence, while others argue that the symptoms could be psychosomatic, a physical manifestation of psychological stress. This divergence of opinions, coupled with the high-stakes nature of the situation, has led to intense debates within scientific and intelligence communities. The situation is further complicated by the international implications, as these incidents have primarily affected U.S. diplomats and officials overseas. While the investigations continue and theories abound, a concrete answer to the Havana Syndrome puzzle remains elusive. But rest assured, the search for answers is far from over. As scientists and investigators continue to unravel this mystery, we can only hope that a solution is on the horizon. The U.S. government has not been idle in the face of these attacks. Indeed, the seriousness of the situation has led to the mobilization of significant resources and efforts. The Central Intelligence Agency, under the leadership of Director Bill Burns and Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines, has been relentless in its pursuit to understand and defend against what's now known as the Havana Syndrome. The government's response to these attacks has been multifaceted and robust. It has initiated a thorough investigation into the incidents, actively pursuing multiple lines of inquiry. This commitment to finding answers and solutions is evident in the resources allocated to the cause, with President Biden setting aside $30 million in the 2021 defense spending bill to support the victims of Havana Syndrome. This funding goes a long way in providing necessary medical and psychological support for the affected personnel. It also bolsters the investigative processes, allowing for a more comprehensive understanding of the syndrome and its causes. In addition to this, the government has taken steps to enhance the safety and well-being of its diplomats and intelligence officers. This includes increased vigilance and protective measures, particularly for those stationed in hotspots like Havana and Vienna. Despite these efforts, the syndrome persists, causing unease among U.S. diplomats and intelligence officials. Yet, the response to the syndrome has been nothing short of resolute. There's a clear sense of determination and urgency in the actions taken by the U.S. government. The commitment is unwavering. The resources are substantial, and the will to protect its people is strong. The fight against the Havana Syndrome is ongoing, with new strategies and investigations underway. The journey to fully understanding this mysterious syndrome may be long and challenging, but there's no doubt that every effort is being made to get to the bottom of it. In the absence of concrete answers, conspiracy theories have found fertile ground. The Havana Syndrome, with its mysterious origins and unexplained symptoms, has become a hotbed for speculation and conjecture. One of the most persistent theories suggests that these incidents are not random but rather deliberate attacks. Some believe that these attacks are the work of a hostile nation, employing advanced technology to disrupt and destabilize. The prime suspects: Russia and China. Nations known for their advanced technology and strained relations with the United States. However, it's important to note that this remains a theory, as no substantial evidence has been found to link these nations to the incidents. Others speculate that the syndrome might be the result of some form of espionage gone wrong. Given the history of Vienna as a hub for international espionage, this theory has gained some traction. Yet again, no definitive proof supports this claim. A more controversial theory posits that the Havana Syndrome might not be a physical phenomenon at all, but rather a psychological one. Some argue that the symptoms might be the result of mass psychogenic illness, a situation where psychological stress manifests as physical symptoms. Critics of this theory highlight that it fails to explain the brain injuries observed in some victims. Lastly, there are those who believe that the syndrome might be the result of exposure to pesticides or other environmental hazards. This theory emerged due to the initial outbreak of the syndrome in Cuba, a country known for its extensive use of pesticides. However, this theory doesn't explain why the syndrome has affected individuals in various parts of the world. These conspiracy theories, each with their own set of believers and skeptics, highlight the pressing need for more research and investigation into the Havana Syndrome. As we tread this murky terrain, it's imperative that we maintain a healthy skepticism and not let unverified theories cloud our understanding of the situation. As we continue to search for answers, it's important to separate fact from fiction and not let speculation cloud our understanding. As of today, the Havana Syndrome continues to baffle and concern the international community. Despite years of investigation and hundreds of reported cases, the exact cause of this mysterious ailment remains elusive. This enigmatic syndrome, first recorded in Havana, Cuba, has now been reported in various corners of the globe, with notable hotspots in Vienna and India. The syndrome's symptoms, ranging from migraines and vertigo to neurological problems and hearing loss, have affected more than 300 individuals, predominantly U.S. diplomats and intelligence officers. The toll these symptoms take on the affected individuals is not just physical but psychological, causing unease and anxiety among the ranks of those serving abroad. The international response has been an amalgamation of concern and confusion. Various countries are actively investigating these incidents, attempting to ensure the safety of diplomats and their families. In the United States, the Biden administration has allocated $30 million for victims in the defense spending bill, showing a commitment to supporting those affected and enhancing investigative processes. Yet, despite these measures, the incidents persist. The CIA, under Director Bill Burns, continues to refer to these incidents as attacks, further fueling the urgency to identify the culprits. The leading theory suggests pulsed electromagnetic energy, or microwaves, as potential causes, though the evidence is far from conclusive. The long-term effects of the syndrome are still under study, adding another layer of uncertainty to this already complex situation. The current situation is a testament to the complexity and gravity of the Havana Syndrome. It serves as a stark reminder of the challenges faced by those serving in foreign lands and the need for comprehensive solutions to protect them. While we may not have all the answers yet, the quest to unravel the mystery of the Havana Syndrome continues, with the hope of protecting those at risk and preventing future attacks. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the perplexing phenomenon known as Havana Syndrome. It's a story that's still unfolding, with new twists and turns emerging all the time. But one thing is clear: this is no longer a fringe issue or a conspiracy theory. It's a full-blown national security crisis, with hundreds of our public servants suffering very real consequences. As an American, I find it deeply disturbing that our diplomats and intelligence officers, the people on the front lines protecting our country, have been targeted in this way. They deserve answers, accountability, and the full support of our government and our people. I hope this video has helped shed some light on this complex and often confusing topic. If you found it informative or eye-opening, please consider liking and sharing it to spread awareness. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Havana Syndrome is the work of a foreign adversary? Or is there some other explanation we haven't considered? Leave your comments and theories below. If you want to stay up to date on the latest developments in the Havana Syndrome story, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be following this closely and bringing you more in-depth reports as new information emerges. Thank you so much for watching and for caring about this vital issue that affects our national security and our moral obligation to stand with public servants under attack. With your help, we can keep shining a light on Havana Syndrome until the truth is finally revealed and our people get the justice and support they deserve. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.